Headline news most affecting Chilliwack this week. We have liftoff for a provincial election. Reapers fading like a ghost. So what is the future of fantasy farms? Local Metis leader Louis de Jaeger tries once again for an elected seat. We're going to spill the beans. He finally got in. And future plans for Giants football and the Chiefs announcing a partial schedule. Our special guests this week include UFE Poli-Sci Professor Emeritus Scott Fast, Gary Moran of Fantasy Farms, Louis de Jaeger, as well as Chris Clark of the Chilliwack Giants. All right, Chilliwack, let's get started. The writ has been dropped, and we go to the polls for a provincial election Saturday, October the 24th. Now, due to COVID, the advanced polling will be from the 16th through to the 21st, 5 days. And there's already a controversy for the two ridings. Incumbent MLAs John Martin of Chilliwack and Laurie Thronis of Chilliwack Kent were acclaimed as Liberal candidates. There was no opportunity to challenge either one of them. Former Chilliwack City Councillor Diane Jansen was hoping to make a challenge to Martin, but was told that would not be the case due to COVID. Jansen doesn't buy that and made her views rather clear in a statement emailed to media. Thronis is already in the spotlight for his religious beliefs and his connection to a Thanksgiving ad from last year in a Christian-based magazine. chillTV will provide election night coverage, and of course, that could be a long night after the polls close. UFE Political Science Professor Emeritus Scott Fast weighing in on the upcoming election and taking a look at the impact on both sides of the border in the wake of the death of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Ginsburg. chillTV spoke with the professor earlier. chillTV's News of the Week with University of the Fraser Valley Political Science Professor Scott Fast. Sir, thank you for joining us. What a week. The ink is barely dried on the writ that has been dropped. We have a provincial election. I gotta ask you, is this the right time or the wrong time, or would there ever be a good time between now and next fall to call a provincial election?
Well, for the NDP, it's a very good time. So if we talk about this politically, the Premier's rating is really outstanding, arguably the highest in the country, depending on the polls. He is running ahead of his party, to be sure, but the NDP still seems to be holding about 49% say if the election was called today, they would vote NDP. It's only about 30 for the Liberals, depending on the polls, sometimes a little better. Greens hold steady at 14. The very preliminary, very early on projections of seats look very favorable for the NDP. So in the political sense of parties, a good time to call an election is when you think people are likely to be voting for you. It's an excellent choice. It's a fair enough argument that the government makes that they anticipate that the COVID situation is going to carry on and that they want a new government to be in a position to really face what may be the most difficult, not only with the disease, but the politics of the virus. Yeah. To say nothing of the virus itself, this is going to be a long haul. So in that sense, a party could certainly make the element. People think BC has done well, at least in relation to other jurisdictions in dealing with COVIDs. And that certainly generates a lot of the positive response in the polls. It's also fair to say that, hey, the Greens have a new leader who hasn't had much time to establish themselves. The New Democrats haven't had any significant scandals in office. The Liberal leader does not have a very high profile. So it's a really good time to call an election again in terms of politics, and there certainly is an argument can be made that it's a very reasonable time to call an election.
You brought up a very good point. There was no scandals, but the NDP are going to lose Judy Darcy. Carol James has her health issues. Is that going to be an issue for the NDP, or do you think this will be a majority government when all is said and done?
Well, One, it's early, and two, I haven't done any more than look at what a range of others have projected who do this kind of thing. I don't have a personal writing by writing a read on this. Surrey is going to be very crucial again. But and again, time may unfold here. Various things may come up or issues may be raised. But I would think that probably the New Democrats are in the best position to be reelected that they've really ever been in the past.
The Green Party, are they still relevant? Andrew Weaver is gone. Could they even hold the balance of power, or has their time come and gone?
Oh, I certainly hope that the Green Party time has not come and gone. I think the Green Party is going to be in trouble if they end up being the party that brings down the NDP and puts in the Liberals. And I think Andrew Weaver recognized that, and that the NDP, even if it didn't go as far and as fast as the Greens might have wanted, agreed with respect to the environment. And certainly it was a better choice with respect to the environment than the Liberal alternative.
We touched base about Andrew Wilkinson. Is he ready for this? Is he up to this? This is going to be his first kick at the can.
Well, the party hasn't had much of a profile. I get CTV clippings on my computer in the morning, and if they're not telling me about the greatness of the Liberal leader and his high profile, I'm sure I'm not going to hear about it. So in that sense, it's unless the governments in power have done a really terrible job with COVID, it's a difficult time for any opposition party.
This will be the first of many times we will speak on not only British Columbia politics, but others. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the late Supreme Court Justice in the States, Ruth Ginsburg. Obviously, people who follow American politics know that she casts a big shadow. She did have an influence on Canada. Your views on that? Is that influence, especially with women's rights, is that a fair and just statement to make, or am I totally off base?
I don't think you're totally off base. For good and evil, or at least good and bad, Canadians follow American politics, often more in the trends there, often more closely than they do Canadian politics. And she certainly was a leader, not only in how she voted and what she stood for, but how she could convince others on the court to join her over the years. And certainly as rights become established and become kind of legal precedents in other countries, they influence the policies of similar countries such as Canada.
Professor, this will be the first of many conversations we will have. Again, I know you have a very busy schedule. Thank you for joining us. We will talk again very soon. That is political science professor Scott Fast of UFE. And you're watching Chill TV's News of the Week. It is a soap opera that has been going on for years. Fantasy Farms trying to keep agritourism alive, and the battle between the farm, the Agricultural Land Commission, and the City of Chilliwack Engineering Department. Reaper's haunted attraction, and the farm itself is in jeopardy. Chill TV spoke with the owner of Fantasy Farms, Gary Moran. Chill TV's News of the Weekend, we are talking with Gary Moran of Fantasy Farms. The controversy over what has been happening with reapers, amongst other things, that is held at the farms, and a temporary use permit that the City of Chilliwack Engineering Department is not giving because they want certain things done. And this pedigree of a story goes back to literally 2015 almost, if not sooner, when NAFTMA, the North American Farmers Direct Marketing Association, had their one and only convention outside of the United States. It started in Vancouver, it went to Abbotsford, then it ended up at Fantasy Farms in Chilliwack. And one of the guys behind that is with us, and that's Gary Moran. Gary, Reapers is not happening this year. And I guess we have to try and explain in a nutshell. The Agricultural Land Commission had already given you, I believe it was 32 events per year that you could have on Fantasy Farms?
Correct.
Okay. And you've lost a ton of income because of COVID, and I guess weddings farm weddings was part of that. Now, the actual Reapers, amongst other events, as I understand it, with city engineering, the concern is the makeup of the roof of the greenhouse that's used as a main building?
Yeah, that's part of it. When we started this whole process in 2015 with all kinds of different changes, it was suggested that we have a non-farm use application submitted to the Agricultural Land Reserve, which we did. And that went back and forth. We could be here for a day and a half trying to explain that whole process, but it went back and forth for since 2015 all the way up until July 29th of this year, when the ALC said yes, we agree that what you're doing is good for agriculture, good for the Buy BC program, etc. You can do your 10 weddings as already stipulated within the Agricultural Land Reserve, but we're also going to give you 22 more events that we're going to call them, non-farm events that you can host. But when you do that, you have to get, obviously follow building codes and that sort of thing. So up until then, we weren't allowed to do any work on the farm until we got that application. So we got that application and we started doing the work. We had a building code specialist come out there, and part of the reason was that the city engineers, they had no background on greenhouses. And I believe now this fella really doesn't have that much background on greenhouses either, because it's a double poly greenhouse. 95% of all garden centers, including all the local garden centers, house people in their double poly greenhouses. So it's kind of opening Pandora's box, I think, Don, when you take this away and say, okay, it's no good for Fantasy Farms to have people in double poly greenhouses, which are perfectly safe and used for decades. All the other people in Chilliwack are kind of fall under the same coding, if you will. So that's one thing that, the rest of the remediation work I have no problem doing. We've been compliant all the way up to then, but with the non-farm is actually slightly changing the use of the building. So that's why the remediation work needs to get done on the property. And we've all along worked with the city. They've been working with us until these applications were finalized. So now that they're finalized, we're kind of going, okay, now why stop now? Why not just keep working until we go through this? Because nowhere has the farm ever been cited for being unsafe in any way, shape, or form. And we've followed protocol, building permits. Everything that we've ever built on the property has been done with building permits. Since 2008, every year before we opened the haunted attraction, we had a visit from the Chilliwack Fire Department, and at one time we had the Electrical BC Safety Authority come through and do a complete overview of the property, and every year we got the green light and the thumbs up. So it's a very safe, very, very safe building. I mean, there's steel structures with steel roofs, but I understand we have to work. I'm just saying, hey, please continue working with us. Remediation,
that's got to come with a cost. Do you have a ballpark figure of how much that would come out of your back pocket?
Well, the first one we did, the fellow was out there for an hour and it cost us over $3,000. And unfortunately, that $3,000 really just gave more ammunition to the planning department to say, oh yeah, okay, no, this work has to be done. And the funny thing is, most of the work evolves around building fire walls in between the buildings that we use on the property. And all the buildings are actually separated by about 3 feet. So yeah, the work really won't make the building structurally safer. They're just worried about, I think, the fire aspect of it. And we have fire exits 4 in the main building, and in 2016, when this all started, the city asked us to put the Running Man lights up, so we did. We put emergency lighting up. We did all of that to make everybody feel a little more comfortable as we went through the process with a non-farm application. So, but again, I really want to go back to the poly greenhouse roofs. I mean, if you're saying no to this, I mean, look around town. Every single satellite garden center, every single greenhouse, and a lot of them host big Christmas events inside the greenhouses. I think one even has an indoor train. So if you're saying no to fantasy farms, let's just level the playing field and go from there, I think.
Yeah, and since 2008, or even before that, we were saying, you were talking off the air, you've gone through 4 different mayors, and it sounds like everything seems to be rebooted every time there's a new administration?
Definitely. When you referenced NAFTMA, and back in the day when NAFTMA came out there, a longtime old MLA, Corky Evans, was there. And Corky at the time, he was a champion of agritourism. And back in the day, there was several people. I mean, I have a 229-page document back, I think dated back around 2000, when every single level of politics was involved with agritourism as a way to help farms stay active and stay farming as they farm their land. So that goes back, like I say, to 2000, but agritourism dates back probably from the very first people to the Americas, first Europeans.
So unfortunately now, I guess Reapers is not going to happen. Petey's Pumpkin Patch, though, the pumpkins are there.
Oh.
And social distancing outside is a lot easier.
Yep.
So you're open. The patch is open. What, October 3rd?
October 3rd. Yeah. We just postponed the outdoor maze till the second week, just so we can put a few more things in place to make sure people are safe. And ironically, we probably would have not done Reapers this year with COVID, but that still doesn't stop us from building. I mean, we've been building right up until, well, probably yesterday when the wind was completely knocked out of the sails. So we're creative people. We're busy. We're going to make this one heck of a good fall season for the people of Chilliwack still. If we're not using the inside of the family fun zone, we actually own some marquee tents, so we're going to bring them outside and move our games outside. And, we're happy the schools, they love us, so we're actually going to improvise and bring Pumpkin Patch to a few schools right out to their fields. So. Well,
this is a story that we're going to be following as we move along. Gary, big thank you, and you're always welcome here. And we'll definitely be talking again soon in the near future.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate your time and having me.
Anytime. Gary Moran of Fantasy Farms, and you're watching chillTV's News of the Week. Back in June, local candidate nominee Louis de Jaeger announced his intention to run for Region 2 Director of Métis Nation, British Columbia. The election date was back on September the 10th. Voting was done by mail-in ballot. Now, the final vote was this past Monday. And finally, Louis won an election. De Jaeger is best known locally for establishing his award-winning Bravo restaurant and lounge in downtown Chilliwack, winning numerous wine lists and dining awards from 2004 to the sale of the restaurant in 2016. He tried running in the federal election as a Liberal candidate in 2015, losing to Mark Strahl. And then he tried the civic election in 2018 to try and be a city councillor. He lost that as well. Would this be third time lucky, trying for office? De Jaeger spoke with chillTV earlier on what the future holds. chillTV in the News of the Weekend, we are in conversation with Louis de Jaeger, who we were joking off the air, Louis, about a month or two ago of hopefully you were third time lucky. A few years back, 2015 federal election, you ran as an MP, didn't work out. 2 years ago, running for city council, didn't work out. I think this one, though, is going to be a little bit different and probably a little more satisfying. Can you explain Regional 2 Director for Métis Nation, British Columbia? You got it. You're in. So what are your responsibilities now?
Well, third time's a charm, right? Yeah. So, you kind of get pretty sick of being a bridesmaid all the time, and it's time to be the bride. So, but I've been training and working with my community for a long time now, Don. I mean, my involvement with Chilliwack Healthier Community, and just with the Métis and Stalo as well. I mean, I've been on the board of directors for Stalo Community Futures and working with young Indigenous entrepreneurs for quite a few years. This seems to just be the next natural step is to, with self-governance coming up now with the Métis Nation BC, this is exactly where I need to be for my people.
Excellent. And I guess a lot of people still don't understand what the benefits are for Métis versus full status. Will this be able to give you a platform to try and explain some of the rules? I guess there's a blurry area in between.
Yeah, it's. I teach First Nation studies at the University of the Fraser Valley, so I mean that is a big question. Is like, who are you? You know, but we're not First Nations. There's three distinct groups of Indigenous people in Canada, and one of those is the Inuit, of course, and First Nations, and the other one is the Métis, with their ties to, of course, the Red River Settlement and the Hudson Bay Fur Trade. You know, a lot of that is just getting that information out there, but we have our own set of rights. We have S35 rights that are entrenched in the Constitution of Canada. There's a lot of things that we don't have that First Nations have, but with self-governance now with the Métis Nation, British Columbia, now we sit at the table as equal partners with the federal government. It was just Ontario and Saskatchewan and Alberta actually that have just done that, and the three of them have worked together, and they're working on children and families. We're working on a relationship as well with the provincial government of British Columbia, and UNDRIP, and all of those things are, you know, they're big topics in the Métis world right now.
So, pardon me, as a director, is education part of your mandate, or are there some other things that we should know about?
Well, regional director for me is taking care of the communities in the Lower Mainland, so I will spend time in Wachia, which is Langley, Surrey, Golden Ears, and up in Mission, and as well as Chilliwack and the Fraser Valley, and work on building capacity within those communities, having answers for people that are looking for things like dental, for housing, childcare, all of those things, including entrepreneurship, and where we can go to get some help setting up, you know, maybe your own business.
We were speaking off the air about gaming. Will you be able to get any type of gaming grants, money, income into the Métis community as opposed to what First Nations can do? Or because of COVID, is that all off the table now for the time being?
Well, you hit on a real hot topic there because we were not included in that with the BC government. So we will readdress that issue with, you know, when the election's over for sure, and probably during the election, because our communities are landless. So First Nations communities already have some tax benefits and ways that they can generate income, but that's not the same with Métis communities. So if anybody should be there, and the federal government as well as the provincial government should have a stake to make sure that we're able to have our own programs and fund them, but also develop programs with some element of sustainability. So we're not always asking for money. We actually are introducing things that can self-generate more income for ourselves.
As a business person yourself, I would assume, are there any differences in rules when it comes to Métis business as opposed to, say, Stalo business?
I don't think so. We're all Indigenous businesses. We all have a separate, separate set of rules. But as far as entrepreneurship, we've been trading with the Hudson Bay Company. It's all part of our blood and in our roots forever. So we just want to make sure that you know, we're doing the best thing for our people.
How long is this sighting now as a Regional 2 director? Is it, what, 2 years, 4 years?
No, it's going to be 4 years, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it right now. It's an exciting time to be Indigenous, and you know, especially with a lot of education that's coming out now, and building capacity, and just making sure that everyone gets a real fair share and a fair shake.
And I would think your learning curve is like that right about now.
Well, you know, I've got my master's in business. I went back to school after I sold my restaurant, and so I've been, you know, a lifelong learner, as well as I'm teaching at the University of the Fraser Valley, and learning about other Indigenous cultures as well. And I just, yeah, we're one community here, and where there's lots to learn from each other.
Speaking of which, I know you have a class to teach at UFE. You are always welcome here, Louis, and thanks a bunch for spending some time with us.
You are always awesome, and it's great to speak with you, and thanks for for having me.
I've been looking forward to saying this as a title for a while. So, Regional 2 Director of Métis Nation of BC, he's finally got elected. Louis de Jaeger, thanks for coming by.
Chimiquich.
And you're watching ChillTV's News of the Week. Remembrance Day parades are not happening in the Valley this year, all thanks to COVID and the restrictions on gatherings. However, both the city of Abbotsford and Chilliwack say that virtual ceremonies will take place online, and more information will be coming out in the next few weeks. So, you're casually playing Keno and you win $25,000. Would you feel surprised? Dale Zinko purchased a ticket for the Keno and Keno bonus draw September the 2nd at the Agassiz Elks Lodge on Highway 9. He was watching the board when suddenly he was dumbfounded, as he said, after matching up the numbers. Dale says he does plan to share his win with the family and, of course, treat himself to a few things on the side. Chilliwack Chiefs of the BC Hockey League announcing their exhibition schedule, and all teams are going to be staying close to home. As part of the league's extended training camp, the schedule will feature competition between BCHL teams within their cohort of 4. So for the Chiefs, that cohort includes Langley, Surrey, and Coquitlam. The Chiefs' first game of the silly season is October the 2nd in Surrey. Chilliwack Giants football program had dealt with their share of COVID confusion. President Chris Clark speaking with ChillTV on what the return to play will look like. ChillTV's News of the Week. Now we're talking Sports of the Week. Chris Clark, the president of the Chilliwack Minor Football Association. We better know them as the Giants. And Chris, we're finally going to have a return to play. Kind of, sort of. How's this going to work? That's
exactly it. Yeah, we're only going to play against ourselves inside Chilliwack, so just Giants versus Giants for our games. We've decided that for the safety of our Giants community, that we're just going to keep it in-house this year. We're not going to invite any other teams to come out and just keep our cohort as small as we can, just strictly inside the Giants family.
Speaking of the family, the fans, are you going to allow the fans to be in the stands, or can it only be one parent, both parents?
Unfortunately, no, it's going to be 0 fans in the stands. It's just going to be the coaches and a few refs and the players on the field, and that's all that's going to be inside Townsend Park. Unfortunately, that's where it is these days, but we will be having all of our games broadcasts online, so that'll be very exciting for people to watch from their homes.
Have you had a discussion with players about the mindset? It is going to be weird playing, although we've been watching this with the NFL and with Major League Baseball, with hockey. You're not going to have anybody in the stands. Is that a little disconcerting for some of the players, let alone coaches?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different, definitely. There's going to be no cowbells, no hooting and hollering from all the parents in the stands, but it's just unfortunately where we are. But it is going to be fun for the players still to be able to get out on the field, play the game that they love, and still have it be broadcast internationally.
Yeah, and maybe sound effects of the cowbells. I don't know.
We can definitely play with that. Maybe we'll see.
One other thing, and I know Chilliwack FC is taking advantage of this. Via Sport last week announced, I believe it was $1.5 million to help out minor sports organizations just to try and pay the bills. Is there any way that the Giants can try to access that money or any similar program?
Yeah, as an executive board, we have looked into that. We've just been discussing it at a board level and seeing exactly how we can take advantage of that. Obviously, it hasn't been the best season as far as funding and registration fees and that, but we're doing the best that we can, and we'll look for any programs that can help us going forward.
And you can always take donations.
Of course.
Now, the upside again is we will be able to watch Giants football online and through the Facebook page, I would assume?
I'm sure there'll be links on Facebook page, on Instagram, and usually we on our YouTube channel as well, yes.
Chris Clark, the president of Chilliwack Minor Football, the Giants, big thank you for coming in and having some time with us.
Thank you.
And you're watching ChillTV's News of the Week. Community-based sports groups facing the risk of closing are being encouraged to apply for the province's $1.5 million local sport relief fund. Chilliwack FC's Andrea Laycock telling ChillTV she'll be one of those, and many in the Valley organizations applying for those funds. Valley soccer programs have taken a major hit this year due to the pandemic, just like the Chilliwack Giants football team. Now, Via Sport and the province are celebrating British Columbia and National Coaches Week from September the 19th to the 27th to recognize coaches across the province for their outstanding commitment to sport and to their communities. Now, during this Coaches Week, players and parents have the opportunity to recognize coaches for the role they play by saying #ThanksBCCoach through Via Sports social media contest. And one lucky coach will win $1,000, which breaks down to $500 for the club and $500 for themselves. chillTV weather, the first day of fall has come and gone, and all that wildfire smoke has faded into a bad memory. The autumn chill is in the air, and for this weekend, it's anywhere from 17 to 19 degrees and a good chance of showers. If you'd like to participate in reporting the news in Chilliwack and you have a story you think we should know about, send us a note to news@chilltv.ca. We'd love to hear from you. That's the news this week. I'm Don Lehn.